Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Teresa, a registered dietitian and owner of The Roasted Veggie. And I'm calling all my seafood lovers, haters, and in-betweeners. And we're gonna talk today. We're gonna sit down, we're gonna have a little chit chat about seafood because there's a lot of myths and misconceptions on seafood. Today, we're specifically going to talk about salmon. I'm gonna address all your questions regarding salmon, like, is salmon healthy for us? Why should we eat salmon? Should we be worried about high amounts of mercury or antibiotics? And which is the best to buy? Because there's a lot of options out there in the market and a lot of terms that can get really confusing when it comes to choosing the right salmon for you. By the end of this video, you're definitely going to feel confident and gain a lot of clarity on choosing the healthiest, most sustainable, and responsibly raised salmon for you and your family. First off, let's answer the question, is salmon healthy for us? And I just have to say, it's a pretty big deal. Yes, it's healthy for us. And if it wasn't healthy for us, this video probably wouldn't even be a thing, or the title would be completely different. But yes, 1,000 times yes, salmon is a very, very good option for your plate. And the reason why salmon is so healthy for us is because it contains nutrients that our body just loves. We're talking high quality protein, heart healthy omega-3 fatty acids, and a plethora of vitamins and minerals like selenium, vitamin B12, and literally so much more. And these nutrients are really good for your brain, your heart, and even your mood. But don't take my word for it. You know, as a dietitian, I love to look into the research, so let's see what the research has to say. In one older study, consuming 2 servings of farmed salmon a week increased omega-3 blood levels by 8 to 9%, as well as decreased omega-6 levels after only 4 weeks. Many people who follow a Western traditional American diet typically have a surplus of omega-6 fatty acids in their blood in relation to omega-3s. Research suggests that when the balance of these fatty acids are a bit off, the risk of heart disease increases. Additionally, some research suggests that regular fish consumption may be linked to lower triglyceride levels and improvements in several other risk factors for heart disease. Another amazing benefit to salmon is weight management. Consuming salmon frequently can help you reach and stabilize a healthy weight due to it helping regulate hormones that impact appetite and help you feel full. Plus, it's just naturally lower in calories. Now, I know we all out here struggling with our brain and mental health. I swear TikTok has literally made my attention span so much shorter, but maybe eating salmon might help us out. A 2020 review concluded that fish consumption could improve memory performance, promote brain function, and protect our brain structure in healthy adults. Talk about big brain energy. And as for mental health, a review of 10 studies consuming at least 1 serving of fish per week or 500 milligrams of omega-3 per day was associated with a lower risk of developing depression, especially in women. Would you look at that? In another small study, literally only 23 young adults, they found that taking an omega-3 supplement led to significant improvements in the symptoms of depression in 21 days. Some research also suggests that omega-3 fatty acids can reduce the symptoms of anxiety and improve mood. But take all these findings and research with a grain of salt. Mental health is so complex, and a lot of this research needs to be better in quality to come to a more definitive conclusion. But it is safe to say that it might be beneficial. It just isn't a miracle food. But okay, what about mercury? Many of you have asked about the mercury content of salmon and if it's safe to consume, and don't worry, I got the answers. And it's good news. Salmon is categorized as a low mercury fish, making it very safe to eat regularly, even for pregnant and breastfeeding women. And that's because remember all that brain benefits I talked about earlier due to the omega-3 content in salmon? Well, yeah, that also translates to babies and their brain health and development. Currently, there's no limits on how many times you can eat salmon a week. In fact, a recent joint study by the World Health Organization and FAO found the health benefits of eating salmon or seafood in general outweigh the risks. And when a mother consumes fish, this reduces the risk of suboptimal neurodevelopment in the baby. It's a yes for salmon. The DGA recommends pregnant or breastfeeding women to Eat 8 to 12 ounces of seafood per week, varieties that are lower in mercury and higher in EPA and DHA, which are your omega-3s. Options could be salmon, anchovy, herring, sardine, Pacific oysters, trout, and Atlantic and Pacific mackerel. But what about if you're not pregnant or breastfeeding? How much salmon should you eat? Well, the Dietary Guidelines of Americans recommend 8 ounces of seafood per week, including fish or shellfish, which is roughly about 2 servings a week. So when we think about salmon, they usually come packaged in either 4-ounce fillets, or you can get a pound of it at the grocery store. So that roughly equates to around 2 servings a week. Pretty doable, right? Well, the sad reality is that only 1 in 10 Americans report eating seafood regularly, with an average of only 2.7 ounces per week per person, which is well below the recommended 8 ounces a week. And who knows why, right? Maybe it's the distrust in the aquaculture industry, or maybe it's just because you don't know what salmon to get. You know, there's farm, there's wild caught, there's fresh, there's frozen, there's all these different types like Atlantic, pink, sockeye. Don't worry, don't get ahead of yourself. I'm going to clear all of that up for you so that you know exactly what to get at the grocery store and you know the right option to choose. One big distinction that you may have heard of is farm salmon and wild caught salmon. Now, both of them have their pros and cons, and we are going to dive right into all of the nuances when it comes to these categories, starting with wild salmon. So wild salmon is caught in natural environments like lakes, oceans, and rivers. They swim and, roam freely. They eat whatever they find in nature. Wild caught salmon is actually richer in calcium and iron than farm salmon, but wild caught salmon is typically more expensive than farm salmon. Now let's kind of shift gears and talk about farm salmon. About half the salmon sold worldwide comes from fish farms, and that number is just going to keep on increasing as the years go by. Farm salmon are typically raised in close quarters, which means they're not, swimming or exercising as much, which makes them a little bit more fattier than their wild caught counterparts. But it being fattier does not make it bad. More fattier means more omega-3s, more omega-6s. Flesh is richer. People prefer the taste of it. Farm salmon are fed a processed diet, which is high in fat and high in protein. And it actually makes them larger than wild-caught salmon. And overall, they're typically a much affordable option for most people. So remember when I said salmon was a low mercury containing fish? Well, what about other metals? Should we be concerned about things like arsenic, copper, or cadmium? Well, it's been noted that levels of arsenic do tend to be higher in farmed salmon versus wild caught. But wild caught salmon has also been shown to be higher in metals like copper, cadmium, and cobalt. But before you say, oh my gosh, never eating salmon again, these metals are found in such small amounts in both varieties that they're very unlikely to be an issue. Both varieties, so farm salmon and wild caught salmon, can ingest PCBs and other toxins from water and food. But again, the overall health benefits of eating salmon, any variety that you choose, so whether it be farm salmon or wild caught, still outweigh the risk associated with ingesting small amounts of synthetic compounds or metals. And according to the Washington State Department of Health, there are strict rules on contaminant level in the ingredients of the feed of farm salmon. And because of these changes and rules and regulations, they have seen a much lowered contaminant level in farm fish in recent years. So that's a plus. So which one is the best? Well, bottom line is both types are good for you. Don't be scared of farmed and don't be scared of wild caught. It often goes down to personal preference on taste, availability, and budget. But if cost is a big concern to you, buying farm salmon is still recommended over not consuming salmon at all and avoiding it completely. Now, we can't really talk about aquaculture without talking about antibiotics and addressing those concerns in that industry. And if you're new to this whole antibiotic world, why are people so concerned? Antibiotic abuse in farming isn't good for the environment and our health. And you may be wondering why the heck farmers use antibiotics to begin with. Well, remember when I said farm fish are kind of raised in tight quarters? Well, due to this overpopulated design, farm salmon are more susceptible to getting disease or infection. Fish get sick, like we as humans get sick. And when we get sick, we go to the doctor, and if we have an infection or something wrong with us, we're usually prescribed antibiotics, and we take it for a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, and boom, we're done and we're healed. But like with most things, abusing medications often do not come with good side effects. Antibiotic use in agriculture is not always regulated and has a bad rep for irresponsibly using antibiotics. And that's not great because it can cause drug resistance, a hypersensitivity to antibiotics, and even the disruption of our gut flora. But again, don't get discouraged. We know that this is a problem. Some countries had issues with misusing and abusing antibiotics in their feed. They're putting it in their food that they're feeding to the salmon, but things are changing. Countries like Norway and Canada have strict regulations reducing the use of antibiotics significantly. In fact, 99% of all the salmon farmed in Norway has never been treated with antibiotics. On the other hand, there are still some countries recently, as far as 2018, still report excessive antibiotic use. So at the end of the day, it's just important to know where your fish is coming from. Another distinction that I get a lot of questions about is fresh versus frozen, right? Like which one's best? The good news is it doesn't really matter. Just make sure if you're buying fresh, you want to kind of stick to these tips. Fish labeled fresh in the store have either never been frozen or has been frozen and then defrosted. Remember, fresh fish should not have a fishy odor. It should be firm and elastic. It should spring back when you touch it. And when you choose frozen salmon or frozen fish in general, keep it frozen in your freezer until you're ready to use. And when you're ready to use it, be sure to put it in the refrigerator to thaw overnight or thaw it out in a container with cold water, making sure you're refreshing the water frequently. And lastly, you've probably heard of sockeye, pink, Atlantic, all of these different types of salmon. Luckily, these are just names describing the types of salmon. And again, there's really no wrong answer here. Different types of salmon are going to have different tastes, texture, price ranges, and nutrients. But it doesn't make one better than the other. The good news is you can really just choose whatever floats your boat. For example, sockeye salmon is noted for their red color and tend to be fatty and full of flavor, while pink salmon is usually canned and it's lighter in color and it's actually lower in fat than the other types of salmon. So what salmon should we be looking for when we're at the grocery store? Which salmon is safe for us? When choosing salmon, either fresh or frozen, look for the labels. The Best Aquaculture Practices Certification, or BAP for short, is really a green flag for you to know that this salmon was responsibly raised. When you purchase salmon with the BAP certification, you can be assured that that salmon has been raised and harvested in a responsible way. And if you go on their website, they share brands and stores that have the BAP certification, making it super easy for you to find what you're looking for. And you might be surprised on what you find that actually has that certification with it. I was pleasantly surprised to see Walmart and Amazon Fresh have the BAP label on some of their salmon varieties. And I will say that's probably the easiest way to know that your salmon is from a good source and it's safe to eat. It just makes it so much easier when you're shopping at the grocery store. There you have it. Probably much simpler than you thought, right? And that's why I'm here. I'm trying to make this as easy and simple for you so you don't feel so overwhelmed and confused with all of these scary nutrition little information or scaries that might make you feel like you're not doing the right thing for you and your health and your family's health. But there you have it, full guide on choosing what salmon is right for you. Don't let the myths or misconceptions keep you from eating this nutrient powerhouse of a fish. Embrace different varieties, enjoy the health benefits, and if you don't like salmon and you're trying to get into more seafood, just try to experiment. Keep an open mind. Try to prepare it in a different way. And if you're looking for fun and delicious ways to cook salmon, well, I made a video on a recipe using salmon and it is so good. I literally have it twice a week because I'm trying to reap those health benefits. I'm trying to be the 1 in 10 Americans getting that seafood on lock. Because we gotta protect ourselves. We gotta keep this in check, okay? So check out that video. And if you liked this video and if you learned a lot and you want to see more recipes or nutrition advice, subscribe to my channel, like this video. If you have any more questions or topics that you want me to talk about and discuss, feel free to comment them below. let me know. Also, let me know your favorite salmon variety or if you have a favorite way of eating salmon because truly there's like this ongoing joke between my friends that like we are always on a salmon kick. Like sushi, we love it raw. Anyway, we love salmon. So hopefully you can get on that kick as well. So let me know how you like it. And yeah, until next time, see ya.